So welcome everybody. This is, what session is this? This is the 12th session that we're doing today. And so far I've been so impressed by all of you. And we've gone through the slides. We talked about the physical consequences of uncommitted or teen sexual relationships. We talked about part 3. We talked about protecting our heart, the emotional consequences that often follow with an uncommitted sexual relationship. I watch TV, mostly I like getting data and information, but sometimes, I see even in a commercial or a movie like Big Bang, sex is just such a casual thing. It's just, of course you're having sex. Oh, you waited till the 3rd date. Well, good for you. But it's so taken out of the context in regards to intimacy. And then people wonder why, when they're having sex in a married relationship, why it seems like no big deal. And the problem is also, what about the quality of our relationships? If we've not focused on friendships, how to be a good friend, how to nurture a relationship, how to think about other people, how can you actually be in a committed love relationship? And it's so interesting. So tonight, I re-emailed everybody the student journal for relationship intelligence. Now, usually this is done in like a club atmosphere with students or people that you meet on a regular basis. Some people maybe you meet once a week. Sometimes you might meet a few times a week, once a month. It depends. In all honesty, I think this is a great workbook to even do as a parent workshop, so parents can do this with their own children in the summertime, because I've always been a workaholic and very busy, but my goal when I came back from the Soviet Union in 1996 after working overseas with HIV and AIDS was to be home by 3 o'clock. So no matter, I worked every day giving presentations, but I tried to finish in time, like by 2 o'clock, so I could race home. I wanted to be home for my children, make sure they did their homework, make sure they weren't getting into mischief. And in the summer and holidays, because I wanted to have meaningful give and take with my kids, I didn't know anything about parenting. I had no workshops. I had no guidance. And I found by doing these kind of workbooks with my own kids, they found it so interesting, and it was on topics that they're in, instead of saying, you can do this, don't do that, which is usually a lot of don'ts, or scolding them, or, telling them too many rules, just in a natural way, talk about relationships. And they just loved it. Plus, it really gave them a foundation to speak to their friends on these issues, how to be a good friend, what are qualities of a good friend, because all romantic relationships should be based on the qualities. What does it take to be a good friend, to be a good friend, and to find a good friend? How do you nurture that relationship? So there's so many different ways this can be used. So I need a volunteer to read me the first 3 paragraphs of this preface. Do I have a volunteer? Bergie, can you?
Yeah, I'll be happy to read.
Okay, you read the first 3, and then Daijo will read the next 3.
Okay.
Cool.
A preface. Concern about school violence, drug use, teen pregnancy, and sexually transmitted diseases has led to the development of many health education, drug and violence prevention programs, yet such programs are often criticized for talking more about what students shouldn't do than what they could be doing in a positive sense. The relationship intelligence curriculum responds to this criticism by putting forth a positive vision of healthy relationships divided into 4 sections on relationships: self-leadership, interpersonal relationships and community relationships. Relationship intelligence uses an interactive approach, including self-inventory exercises and student journal questions for personal reflection. It calls upon the power of stories by drawing on selections of best-loved literature from famous Velveteen Rabbit segment on love, as well as selections from Tolstoy, E.B. White, or Henry, to contemporary songwriters, to heart-rending confessions in letters to Ann Landis, or to the freeteenusa.org website. It also draws on scientific research on brain activity during different stages of romantic love to give teens a practical insight into what might be happening biochemically when they feel themselves in the intoxicating throes of love, and hopefully offer a more long-range, mature perspective on the stages of intimacy. Social science research on marriage is also discussed, both to give students a clear idea about the substantial benefits of that institution and the realistic idea of the conflict that can occur in any long-term relationship. Students are taught how to use communication skills to minimize the hurt and pain that occur through misunderstandings and miscommunication. The concept of freedom is central to relationship intelligence. None of us can control what happens in the world and communities we live in, nor how others treat us, but we are free to choose our response to the actions of others. As Viktor Frankl, survivor of the Nazi death camps and author of Man's Search for Meaning, and Nelson Mandela, the president of South Africa, who spent 26 years in prison because of his opposition to apartheid, both learned during their prison experiences, when every vestige of your physical freedom has been taken away, one begins to really appreciate the last freedoms: to choose to live, to not give in to hatred and despair.
So quite a very noble type of thing. So I would suggest always that, as we're doing here, you would ask the students, usually ask for volunteers, no hands go up, so then I pick people, to read it. And if somebody's having problems or they really don't want to, I never ever push it, because English may be their second language. They may just be afraid of being laughed at. So this Viktor Frankl, actually, when I did a tribute to my mother, who just passed away last week, I ended with a very famous quote by Viktor Frankl. And it's one I actually keep on my wall. It says, one cannot ever find happiness by seeking it directly. Seek to live for a noble purpose. Seek to live for the sake of others. Happiness will come looking for you. This is a man who was living in the death camps of Nazi Germany. He wrote this, and it's because a lot of times, every time I teach, I say, people say that money is the root of all evil. I say, no, I can do a lot of positive charity work with money. I like money. I find that the root of all bad things in life is self-centeredness. When I care about my feelings, my happiness, but not really yours. It's all about me. So that's what they're basically saying. You know, I can't change the way somebody might talk about me or talk at me, or a lot of things that are going on in the world, but I can control how I treat other people. Do I treat people the way I want to be treated? Like if I knew I hurt Bergie's feelings, it would hurt me to know that I hurt her. That's how I'm built, you know? So I'm sorry again, Dejo. Is it Dejo or Daijo?
Sorry, Linda, it's Dejo.
Dejo, okay, like bright day. So,
Like
so Dejo, can you read me the next 3 paragraphs, please?
Yes, ma'am. Okay. So it starts with yet the sad reality.
Mhm.
Yes, uh-huh.
Yet the sad reality is that many people give away these most precious freedoms not because they've been put in a prison, but for very trivial reasons or just to fit in. Students are challenged to reflect on the lives of these courageous figures, as well as sports figures such as Jackie Joyner Kersey, and to see how the same principles lived by these heroes can and should be applied in their own lives. Relationship intelligence was revised and updated in 2008 with the creation of a companion relationship intelligence student workbook containing 18 exercises drawn from the curriculum. We would like to acknowledge the valuable assistance of Katie Mansue of the National Fatherhood Initiative and our indebtedness to other experts on family, sexuality, and relationships, including Dr. Joseph McClaney and Richard Tompkins of the Medical Institute for Sexual Health, and the writings of Stephen Covey, Dr. Les and Leslie Parrott, Dr. Lori Gordon, Dr. Stephen Stoney, and Richard Stedman. I'd also like to express my appreciation for the wise advice of my good friend and colleague, John Williams of the International Education Foundation, and other advisors including Tom Cutts, Don Sardella, Joe Tully, my brother Ronald Panzer, and my sister Dr. Sherry Koplow, Maureen Pearson, and June
Saunders.
Saunders. Made valuable suggestions which led to the addition of a new chapter in the second edition of Five Star Sexuality. We are indebted to the Watch Out for Children, a mother's statement of advertisers, report from the Institute for American Values, the PBS Frontline documentary, The Merchants of Cool, and marital therapist Douglas Weiss for much of the content of Appendix D, Are You a Target? Minding Your Digital Diet. Finally, we would like to thank Char Kemper, author of the Connections curriculum. Several slides on relationship myths and smart relationships in the Part 3 PowerPoint presentation are drawn from that curriculum. We sincerely hope that the relationship intelligence proves to be a valuable resource for teenagers in your community.
This is great. So like in a classroom setting, maybe it would just be the first 4 paragraphs you ask students, because it kind of really sets the tone for the book. And I think it really draws people in. What's very interesting, I'm familiar with every single person that he just gave thanks to, and they're like the top relationship educators, I would say, in America. Like even Stephen Stosny, he really helps with people dealing with violence. They are violent people, but he gets into the core why. And he understands resentment and unhealthy families. He gave his testimony. He had me in front of the class at a conference, had me feel the center of his head. It's totally indented. And he said his mother's boyfriend took a railroad spike and hit him on the top of the head with it when he was just a little boy. And he had to overcome a lot of anger and resentment. So he really helps a lot of people overcome this anger and resentment so that they don't become violent people. And he's just an amazing all of these people. They all have programs dealing, they all have a piece of the pie. Some strictly deal with marriage. Some are, ours is unusual in that a lot of programs are more for adults or marriage education, people who are in a marriage, they want it to be better, or they're on the brink of divorce. And we really choose to be more in the prevention mode and help people understand. Like this Dr. Douglas Weiss near the bottom, they say marital therapist, he's an expert on pornography and its addiction. So when we gave the presentation talking about pornography, all of it basically was based on his research, and he has a practice in California, and if somebody's addicted to porn, but they won't admit it and come to classes to try to help them, he will actually have classes for the family so they can heal and know how to deal with things. So it's really fascinating. And so it gets kind of people kind of wets their whistle. So this again is for your students, whether they're adults or young people. I would say, in a club, it's whatever age you have, but I would say this is more 7th grade and up. We've had 6th graders do it too, but I would say 7th grade and up. And sometimes these kids, they start in with the workbook. Of course, it doesn't get finished during the year, and they just do it over time. It's amazing. So you see the table of contents. We deal with friendship, exploring relationships, a family tree activity, even family tree. How many people know their family tree? Used to be like, I think our grandparents' generations, they knew, Uncle Joe lived here, Aunt Maria lived there. But now a lot of people, they don't know who's my mother's sisters, who's my mother's grandmother, things like this. So it's really interesting even to get photos of people. Family mission statement. We talk about initiation rites, my life map activity. I don't want to keep on doing this. Alcohol alters somebody's Olympic dreams. And these are all real stories from real teenagers. And we read through their story, their testimony, and then there's usually a written activity after each story to kind of get people to think and discuss more about, what's really going on, and understanding your core identity, goal setting activity. Write your own eulogy. What's a eulogy? It's the words people say about you when you died. I told you about the young guy, he got shotgun at 42nd Street in New York City, that's near Times Square. And when he had his funeral and his parents came from another country and people were saying, who can speak about him? Nobody had anything to say about his life. And I says, well, when I die, I don't want people to say they don't have anything to say about me. So what am I doing to help other people? So eulogy, sometimes people think, oh, that sounds so sad. I'm dead and I'm supposed to write my own eulogy. But actually, a eulogy is a celebration of somebody's life. It's like such an honor. So you would pretend that you're a friend of yours, or you could say, a sibling, usually a friend, and then you start writing about this person, and then it makes you, and I'm telling you, students love this. And again, I usually do this in the inner city, and they talk about all the noble things that they did as an adult. And here they might only be 14 years old, and they write these amazing eulogies. And I've never really have kids say, oh, but I'm dead. They don't seem to look at it like that. It's like almost a chance to brag about their life and let them think, yeah, what am I doing with my life? So the power of forgiveness activity, traits and values I have. Always we're hearing the negative things. You're too fat, you're too short, you're too tall. You have orange hair, you have curly hair, you have straight hair. So traits and values that I have that are admirable, and it's not external, it's internal ones. And the react and choose is very exciting because it shows a high-risk behavior that happens. You have the power to choose to do that or to do something else. Like your friends want you to come to the party and drink with them, get high. Well, you didn't know that that's what they were doing. You go to the party and you see everybody's getting high and drinking, and they're all teenagers. You could stay and drink, or some people say, well, I could pretend to drink. I can drink water instead. But a lot of the more responsible teens say, I can leave. And that's why my daughters, they always were the drivers once they got a license, because they didn't want to be stuck anywhere with stupid people. And story of twins with opposite attitudes. This one's crack up, it'll crack you up. Dealing with anger and other emotions, emotional management, risk-taking decision. We all have emotions. We have negative emotions. We have powerful, but how do we regulate them? How do we think, if I do this, how's it going to impact somebody else? But how's it going to impact my future? I can feel totally justified for beating somebody up, getting in a fight. But what if I get a criminal record? What if this person really gets hurt? What did I solve? Did I solve anything? A lot of people only know how to deal with their emotions this way. They never learned, even my daughters, I see they have toddlers, okay? And when the toddler starts to cry or get really angry, they'll say, Anaya, put words. What are your words? So they make their little tiny children put words behind their emotions. I'm angry. I'm hurt. I feel sad. It might be the same tears, but it's a different emotion. So then it takes a lot of time, but the mother talks them through, and I'm telling you, I've seen it pay off. Fair fighting. Fighting is not always a negative thing. Fair fighting would be even like, Vicki and I were always disagreeing with each other, right? Never. But so Vicki's angry, so I says, it looks like you're angry with something. And then I let her talk about all of her things. And the only thing I might say is, oh, so when I did this, it made you feel like that. I'll only reconfirm to make sure she knows I'm listening to her. I reflect back. Then it becomes my turn, and I get to say my part. And sometimes people can hate each other. I'm never going to be their friend again. But after this exercise, they feel closer than when they first became best friends, because there's such a deeper understanding. You know, it's very interesting. Thinking about male and female activity. And even, you know, some people, they're GLBT and intersect and everything else in between. That's okay. We still have male and female. We still have different differences. How does somebody's brain think? It's just good to have an awareness, just like I want to have an awareness of other ethnicities. There's some ethnicities, if you eat everything on your plate, they're going to keep filling it. You have to leave a little bit. That means you had a great meal and you're done. Some people, they bow when they meet, and some people don't. And some people, oh, like in America, we'll always bend over and our backside is at somebody else. And this is so unheard of in other cultures. You would never turn your backside to bend over, pick something up. It's like uber disrespectful, and we would never know. Even chopsticks. I used to think it looked good. Put my chopsticks straight down in the rice bowl. Your son's laughing already. It looks pretty, that because I always eat with chopsticks since I was 8 years old. I taught myself, and I put the chopsticks straight down. And when I was eating with some other Japanese, like maybe 15 years ago, oh no, you can't. It means like death or grave or something like this. And I thought it was pretty. So it's a serious deal, you know, so it's so interesting. So these are, you know, and then you get into 5-star sexuality, lesson 9. These are interpersonal relationships, you know, with other people, setting boundaries. People are afraid, oh, if I set a boundary, this person won't want to see me anymore. Guess what? If they're a good person and you have certain boundaries, I'm in by 10, I don't fool around. I don't want to be alone with somebody in certain situations. I don't get high. When you set your boundaries, right away you find out if this is a good person to invest your time in. Because if they say, oh, come on, you're kidding me, you know? And, but if they say, oh, that's cool. I knew this boy. That's what he said. I said, what would you think if somebody said this? He said, he's told me in front of the class, I would think that was cool. You know, actually, I kind of like that person more because they said that. That's more of a kind of person I want to, you know, hang out with. So it's interesting. Kids are so afraid of rejection, and then they fit in with things that are not good with them because, again, they don't understand consequences. So that's just a few of the things. So let's go to part 1, lesson 1. Part 1, relationship. So all of us seek happiness through relationships. We need to relate to other people in the world around us so much that if we are deprived of these things, we will begin to imagine people or objects that aren't even there. We tend to hallucinate. You may have heard of experiments where people who were put into an empty room that had no sound and nothing to look at except blank walls began to hallucinate, which means they began to see and hear things that weren't there. Despite our need for other people, the unfortunate reality is that good relationships can be difficult to create and maintain. Those we learn to care about deeply can always also hurt us much more than those who don't know anything about us. You've talked about yourself, things that are important to you that are private, and then this person, either you get in a fight, they throw it in your face, they tell everybody your business, all these kind of things. And the kids nod their heads. So much pain kids are causing each other. It's just, I listen to the news and people say racism is, that really hurts people. No, it's people on people that are hurting each other. When I'm in certain ethnicities, they're hurting each other. I go to other ethnicities or cultures, they're hurting each other. You look in India, they have caste system. You are always in that system. It means many jobs you can't have because that caste, which usually they can tell by your last name, you can't marry out of it. If you fall in love with somebody, it's very rare that you can marry outside of your own caste. So it's very sad. So in this first section of the relationship intelligence, we will take a look at relationships with friends and family and how the transition period between childhood and becoming a mature man or woman affects these relationships. So now you have, these look like two friends. That almost looks like Anne Frank. Might be Anne Frank, I'm not sure. So lesson 1, friendship. So we're taking time with just this one lesson, just so you can see kind of the model of doing this. One of the values of, now I know sometimes teachers will say, okay, everybody, read page 1 to yourselves. And I think that's okay, but it really leads to a lot of shenanigans, and also keeps the class from being together on their comprehension, and also the sharing that they're going to do. If they don't read it correctly. And it does help, because I find a lot of kids where English is their second language, they may not be able to read real well, but they really understand the spoken word much easier. So Emerald, could you read me the first 3 paragraphs here?
Yes, actually I have the book, so.
Oh, good.
Okay. One of the great joys in life is friends. Do you remember your childhood friends? It would be hard to forget them. These are the ones who shared your painful struggles and sweet victories, and just the ordinary moments of a long summer afternoon. Many would agree that having a good friend you can trust, that you can share your honest thoughts with, is an important part of what makes life worth living. The pain of losing a good friend is something that is also hard to forget. Having a good friend who suddenly starts to ignore you or doesn't invite you to a party can be devastating. Miscommunication and misunderstandings are inevitable in any relationship. It's easy for our feelings to get hurt, and we may be tempted to say bad things or to retaliate. The feeling of getting some revenge may be sweet for a while, but in the end, there is a feeling of loneliness. The bad taste of anger and
Vindictiveness, yeah.
has a way of staying with you, so that the reasons for your hurt and anger keep replaying in your mind. You never escape from such angry thoughts, so that in effect, you become their prisoner.
So Emerald, as a newlywed, I have a question for you and Dejo. Even though I know that this is an extreme example, but have you two ever experienced yet where you kind of were upset or disappointed in each other based totally on miscommunication or misunderstanding?
Yes.
Is this recent?
It's been a couple of months.
Was that right on the the same time? Right? What were you
Do we
thinking
get
about?
to hear the example?
I can't remember, what was it? It was something really simple. It was just like I misheard something or he misunderstood something. Yeah.
But
It can
I
be
think
that. Go ahead, Dejo.
I think we also like you were saying, like when you're in an argument, it's like I think both of us try to do this where we say like, so you're saying this, is this
Great.
why you're angry? Or like, so you're saying this is why you did that or you thought that. I think, yeah, we try to work it out that way.
That's incredible because that's really advanced lessons. And it's true because to stop and regulate our emotions is not an easy thing to do because oftentimes I think most people, when we feel a certain way, we're sure that how we feel is correct. This is what happened without asking the other person. So it's that's huge. Don't you feel closer after you feel understood?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah, it's better than good sex even sometimes. Um, s- AJ's laughing. No, I don't think so.
Of course,
Um,
I'm
well, you know, people worry, you know, when it comes to sex, people worry more about technique and this and that and the other thing, but they're not thinking about how to feel close to the person you're married to through understanding, through communication, through appreciation, you know, letting people know um, it's a totally different realm that, you know, according to our movies, most people never even heard of. So it's very interesting. So then, Linda, could you read me the next two paragraphs, beginning with if you react angrily?
Sure. If you react angrily, then your friend may feel justified to get back at you. Isn't this similar to fights between different gangs like the Crips and the Bloods? Each gang blames the other for starting the fights, but every time each gang attacks the other, there's a new reason to attack again, and the cycle of violence never ends. In our relationships, we face the same challenges to overcome misunderstandings. An honest expression of your feelings and forgiveness are valuable ways to end this never-ending cycle or to stop it before it starts. You could say, "You hurt my feelings when you didn't invite me to your party, but I've decided to forgive you." Your friend may realize that he or she made a mistake and apologize, or even a chance to explain, or have a chance to explain a detail you didn't know about. If this doesn't happen, you can become free from the vicious cycle of angry thoughts and free to move on with your life. In chapter 8, we'll discuss good communication skills to help resolve conflicts.
That's excellent. Like, honestly speaking, with the Bloods and the Crips, you couldn't go to the gang member and say, you hurt my feelings when you didn't invite me to your party, but I decided to forgive you. But it's still that kind of thing, like somebody killed your brother in a gang fight, and you say, I forgive you. In your heart, you're just devastated. I know there was a girl I heard a real story about in Baltimore, and she was in the projects, and this guy knocked her out, raped her, and killed her. And then when he was in court, her two parents were there, and they begged for leniency from the judge, and they told the young man that they forgave him. I know this other guy, his whole life is the ocean. He lives on the West Coast, and he has fishing boats. And then when the fishing isn't so good, he talks to probation officers, and he brings gang members who have criminal records, opposing gangs, on his ship, but they all have to wear white t-shirts. When you see in the hood white t-shirts, it's a non-gang affiliation, but they all know who belongs to what. And he does certain things with them where their survival depends on them working together. And by the end of the thing, they're either seasick and throwing up on each other, or they're hugging each other and says, yo, man, I really want to, be your friend or whatever. And he really has a great, I mean, they go out for hours, like 12 hours at a time, and it's such a bonding experience. And then they're wondering, why are we fighting? Why are we doing this? And it's fascinating. So Linda, can you continue and read this next paragraph beginning with our desire?
Sure. Our desire for friendship is so strong that we sometimes tolerate an unhealthy relationship. If a friend also happens to be a bully who likes to beat up on you or someone else who is weaker, do you stand silently by and say nothing, or do you speak up? You have the right to ask a friend to change if he or she is doing something that really bothers you or that you know is wrong. If your friend is pressuring you into doing something that you don't really want to do, and you stand up and you speak up for your convictions, a good friend will understand and respect that. He or she might even change as a result.
Just think how powerful this would be. The kids are on the fence, or the good kids, they're saying, wow, this is how I feel, and I get made fun of for this, you know, and you have a right to ask a friend to change if they're doing something. And if the friend just like really puts you down and doesn't, then honestly, you have to walk away. I tell the kids, you got to dust off your shoulders and just walk away, because that is not a real friendship. That's just somebody using you like a security blanket, you know. Gideon, are you there? Yeah. So I think you get the hold of this, and this bottom one here with these two people. This guy, he's a professional rapper, and this was one of our club students, and she wrote rap words, and he helped put some beats in there, and then they had a mixer, and then they did it as a duet, and it had really healthy, powerful beats and words to rap music, not even hip hop, it was rap. So it was so if the list, you know, you can make a list positive and negative, and if the list on the negative side really does outweigh the positive list, you might decide that this friendship isn't worth continuing. You can think about this decision over a few days, so it's not just an emotional decision made in the heat of anger. Remember, a destructive relationship is never better than no relationship at all, because I always have kids say, yes, my relationship sucks, but at least I have somebody. But you don't really have somebody, because that person is not there for you when the chips are down. And that's what really makes a difference. So then this is the student workbook part. Write about a friend you've had. What was special about your friendship? How did your friendship make you feel? And all of us can give me a show of hands. Can you remember friendships you had in middle school or high school? Yeah, I do. I remember some. Two I wrote apology letters to when I became an adult. That's how bad I was. And you know, I didn't ask for the forgiveness. I just said I was really a knucklehead, you know. And I told them I had a lot of problems, and that's why I stopped seeing them, because they were really good people. Have you ever had a disagreement in a friendship? What did you do to resolve that? Again, it's not what you fight about or what you argue about or disagree about. It's how you resolve that. Or did you retaliate? Did you get back by saying something to hurt your friend? Did that solve the problem? I see this all the time. I was on a meeting today, a prevention organization, professional business organization. All these people, they do a lot of community work, counsel people. They went to a town in New Jersey to say that they didn't agree with legalizing pot in their town. And they were yelled and screamed at by other people in the audience saying, you PTA, you 1950s PTA moms. And they said, that was the nicest thing they said to us. And then the more they thought about it, they thought, that was really bad. Can you imagine going to a meeting, you're just expressing your opinion and not arguing with anybody. You're just saying, this is how we feel about this. While some friends may have a good influence, some can have a negative impact. Write about friendships, yours or somebody else's, which have a negative side. What was not good about it? What could the person involved have done to make the relationship better or end it without causing more damage? I always invite students whenever they want to raise their hand and share with an example. I said, you can never say somebody else's name. You can say a person I know went through this. Or if you want to discuss your own personal experience, I would still suggest a person I know did this or said this. This is what happened. This is how they resolved it. And It just really helps because you never know how something is going to be misused and abused. So it's really, and then they're going to share this out loud. They write down their reflections and then ask for volunteers to share at least 3. Try to get 3. And again, when I have my shy kids, I say, can I just read this for you? And they always say, yeah, go ahead. And always when people offer anything, especially when they read, especially with reading, I always say, that was fantastic. That was great. Thank you very much for doing that for me. You know, like just giving them praise. I don't care how many words I had to, you know, help them out with and stuff like that. But now this is a great one. I tell you, I do this with college students. It's called friendship assessment. You're evaluating a friendship. So this exercise will help you think about your friendships. Have a specific friend in mind, just one, and then answer the following true and false questions as honestly as you can. Now, it can even be a previous friendship, but somebody that, you know, you were with or somebody now. Again, a romantic relationship and marriage, it's always best if it can begin on a friendship level. To really get to know somebody as a person, even though you probably have romantic feelings towards them, it's good to start as a friend. Just before you invest your heart and you're already naming your children, you know, and you haven't gone on a first date yet, you know, just try to keep a distance. Like I always call like holding wild horses, you know, taking time, because some people, you know, you could say, I love you to somebody, and even as a friend, and they might even be terrified of the commitment, or they think this is really a done deal. And then when you move on to other friends, they freak out. So you would write true or false. You would circle this. And this person knows how to keep a secret, true or false. We can disagree and then make up without holding a grudge. So Takia-san, grudge means you hold resentment in your heart. Like if I have a grudge against somebody, I keep thinking I'm not happy about something, right? Then this person almost always makes time for me, and I do the same for them. Because I always found, especially one of my daughters, she always made time for people, helped them with the homework, and she would be sitting by the window waiting for them to pick her up, you know, to go to the mall or something during the day, and they just wouldn't come. And this was before everybody got cell phones, and they would just dump her. And I just thought, oh, wow, that's crazy. When he or she gives me advice, I can respect their point of view because they have my best interest at heart and they share my sense of right and wrong. Those two things have to go together. They might think your best interest is to get high because then you're going to be cool, right? But they have to share your sense of right and wrong. I can totally be myself around this person. They're a good listener. This person has stuck by me through the tough times and is willing to make personal sacrifices for me. Meaning, you know, okay, I was going to go do this with my buddies, but, you know, I'm going to, you know, stick around and help you practice catch or something. This person knows my faults, but cares about me anyway. That's good marriage advice. Our relationship is balanced with give and take. We are equally open to each other and caring. I am able to set boundaries with this person when necessary, and they respect them. That's really important. And if you don't feel you can set those boundaries, that's not a good relationship match. No subject is off limits in our conversations. Sometimes it's good to preface it. I want to ask a personal question. Is that okay? Because maybe it's not a good time, you know, so you'd always want to preface it, but there should be no subject off limits. I always tell my own children, be careful what you ask me, especially about myself as a teenager. Be careful what you ask me because I'm going to answer you. I'm going to tell you the truth. I can always count on this person. So they add up the trues and false, add up how many T's for trues, and they would write it down there, down here. The number of oh, I see. This is per person. I'm sorry. So the total number of true responses for this person, the total true, so you could do it for 3 different people if you wanted, but each one is, you're thinking just one person. That's why I always suggest doing it in pencil. So now the score. You're going to add up the number of true responses for each friendship you evaluated. There's a possible 12 points for each relationship. To interpret the scores, use the following. If somebody gets 10 to 12 trues, no doubt about it, this is a good friend who's worth all the effort, care, and investment. And I would say as a young person, that would be pretty demanding. That would be very difficult for somebody. Say they got a 7 to 9 trues. Although this person could be more sensitive to your needs, this friend shows great potential, capable of becoming a really good friend. Be careful, though, not to set you up for disappointment if this person does not meet all your expectations. Again, sometimes we're our own worst enemy. We have such high expectations of other people, more than what we would want anybody to expect of us, you know? Now, if they got 0 to 6 trues, this person is probably too fair weather to see you through the stormy or even the sunny times. Don't hang all your hopes on this one. So it doesn't mean you can't hang out with them. You just wouldn't want to tell them personal information. You wouldn't want them in charge of driving. Maybe you could play ball with them, you know, shoot some hoops, you know, stay after school activities, things like that. But you wouldn't want to be a close, intimate friend of this person, let alone, you know, boyfriend or girlfriend. So one of the greatest pleasures in life is a good friend, but friendship should be based on sound values and mutual respect. And I have found many young people who said, Miss Linda, I'm really a friend to so many people, but I don't feel anybody's a friend to me. And I think the social media aspect has really driven this home. It's such a shallow thing, and how many likes did you get? And, you know, it's heartbreaking. People need to get out in the real world. That's why a lot of these stories would help me through life. I read Aesop's fables. You know, they're very short, and they talk about, and, you know, stories like The Ugly Duckling and things like this, Charlotte's Web. E.B. White, they mentioned before, he wrote the book Charlotte's Web. I remember my 5th grade teacher, we so much look forward to this after lunch and then playing games. We're all hot and sweaty in the 5th grade. And she would read like maybe 5 or 6 pages of Charlotte's Web. So we calmed down, and it was just a great book on morality and ethics and things like this. So again, chapter notes, we always give our references. This is from the Journal of Nervous and Mental Disease, the psychosomatic effects of short-term sensory deprivation. That was when they said, you know, they don't see or hear anything. They hallucinate, because people say, well, how do you know this? Well, this is how you know. Les and Leslie Perrott, this is a married couple. They have their relationship workbook, and shows, you know, we use by permission and things like this. So you don't have to talk to the students about this, but just, you know, if adults ask you or something like that. So what are your general impressions of this activity on friendship? Anybody? Vicki, what do you think?
Yeah, I think it's, well, even for adults.
Yeah.
Good thing to go over.
Yeah. And you know, it's never too late to learn. You know, we can always correct things. And then we can also, I think, like, even I'm retracing things, flashbacks. Oh man, you know, I should have really done things different. I should have really taken charge over this instead of letting people step all over me, you know, and I should have been nicer to this person. You know, we're in our own bubble. Like, kids only are thinking of themselves. What can I do to hurt somebody? This person hurt me. Why are they laughing? I assumed whenever I walked someplace that people were laughing, I assumed they were laughing at me, because I was only told negative things about myself. So luckily I didn't retaliate and become a person. Usually that person becomes a hater. They want to hurt other people before somebody hurts them. So yeah, Vicki, you seem like the type of person that's a good friend, but I think you're careful.
Not always, sometimes.
Not enough. Yeah, it's very interesting. So you get kind of a little bit of an idea. And this is just one lesson. It took us total about 45 minutes, and that's including reading. The assessment is really great. Like if anybody was a social worker and they're having problems, I mean, these questions kind of nail it, whether it's a marriage, a friendship, somebody going out with. And I agree. Everything, when I speak to young people, I said, when I do my adult workshops, I give them the same workshop I give to you. It might be a little more adult content in words, but it's the same PowerPoint's the same program, because we're all in this together. And it really helps. And even for parents, how to, like, your kid comes home crying, oh, my friend did this and that, I hate them, I hate myself, and I'm no good. Okay, let's evaluate your friends right here. Put their names down here. Let's go through this. And you can see where the issues are. A lot of times our children are trusting people too much. They're just other kids. Just play ball, have fun. Talk to me about your stuff, So it's, yeah. College students eat this up. They go, where were you when I was growing up? I wouldn't have the regrets I have today if I was doing this stuff, So this kind of lessons were not unusual back in the day, when, we had a 5% divorce rate, so it's kind of interesting. So you're not going to get away without homework. You guys get homework. So what I want you to do, and I'm going to email this to you. So if you want to write down the instructions, it's fine. But I want you to pick any lesson you want from any of the, 4 main things. Pick any lesson you want, and then you're going to present it to the class. And when you pick your lesson, I want you to be able to explain to us why you chose that lesson. You're going to evaluate or summarize the reading. In other words, you don't have to do the whole reading like we did. You can evaluate this or summarize it and maybe read a paragraph or two if that helps, because it gives a lot of information there. And the lesson activities you're going to do also, but you're going to do them as if you're a student. So you can write down what grade you're in, anywhere from 7th to 12th grade. Do the lesson activity as if you're actually, usually it's teenagers, experiencing this, right? And then you're going to be sharing it next week. So the curriculum in the teacher's book, I have emailed to you twice now. I sent it to you last week, and I sent it to you tonight, so you should have it there. And everybody good on that? And I will email this hopefully tonight, maybe tomorrow. And I just want to double check. So Linda, you never got anything from me. I know Linda Flores, I don't think she ever got anything, and I owe her labels. Linda, did you want labels to put on brochures and things like that too?
Yes, please.
So all I need you to do is email me your email. Oh, Linda Flores, you're here. So Linda Forrestal, Linda Flores, I think you gave me your address already, right?
You have my address.
Okay,
yes.
I have your address, and you did already need the labels, and you'll definitely get this. So Linda Forrestal.
I'm coming to church this Sunday up in Pennsylvania, but you don't. I haven't.
It's kind of far from me.
You there?
Yeah, it's kind of far for me. I'm
Is
still
it?
working on picking up the workbooks from Dr. Panzer, because he's about a half an hour drive in the opposite way, the east way. Oh, that would be cool. Yeah, I'm doing grandma duty this whole weekend, so I'm kind of out of it.
I'm trying to find. I found the student journal. What are you talking about? What's the other thing we're supposed to be reading?
I'm sorry, it's not called student journal. It's called summary. It's called RQ Student Journal Summary Outline.
RQ. Oh boy.
And they should have come as one email tonight, those 2 attachments.
I see an email from earlier with 4 attachments. Just a second.
Yeah, it should have been tonight. I emailed, hopefully it went to you, because I just did a copy and paste with the.
Tonight.
Mhm.
What's
From
the email it came from?
It would have been either Love Smarts or Doering. Let me see where it come from. I have so many emails. Let's see here. It came from Love Smarts RQ.
I only have something from that email on the 29th of July.
Oh, okay.
My last
And
email.
your mom Linda at startmail.com.
Correct.
Okay.
I'm in it right now.
Okay, let me see. I'm going to open the email and see, because sometimes if something gets omitted. Ooh. For
I
some
was
reason,
telling Bergie that I'm getting confused about all these different materials.
yes. And you know what? We can talk. We can talk. And I've been doing it piecemeal, because just think how overwhelming it'd be if I sent everything. But I did send it out to you. It says, Mom Linda at Startmail. Oh, that's what happened. It says .co, not .com.
Aha. That's what
Okay,
happened.
my bad. So, okay, reply all. Okay, so I'll work on that and I'll send it to you. I'm really glad you pointed that out, because I don't know how that happened. So I'll send that back to you. So and then
So
Linda
we're
will-
working from this book we went through tonight, right?
Yes, that
But
book.
also there's something in another thing we're supposed to tailor it together? Or just the book?
Just the student journal workbook. You can pick any lesson you want. If you want, you look at the summary outline, the separate attachment, and it gives you the table of contents and what page it is, if the title looks interesting to you, or just, go through the student journal. It's just that it's a lot of pages for each lesson. It's 205 pages. Pick anything you want, but if I would start with the table of contents,
Yeah,
'cause
okay.
it help guide you. So I'm going to email everybody the lesson, what I need you to do, and you have a week to do it. And yeah, and if you can't, don't worry, you don't get dismissed or publicly shamed. It just gives, when you have experience of hands-on, it just is really amazing. Except for Gideon and Emerald and Dejo, you absolutely have to do it. So did you have a baby yet, Gideon? Did you have a baby? What?
Yes, July 25th.
Really? Oh,
Yeah,
I'm one day
Congrats,
older
Gideon.
than baby, a girl or boy? Or
girl, baby girl.
good for you.
Yeah, July 25th. Yep, she's 12 days old, I think.
Yeah.
So, yep, wonderful girl.
And
Keeps
everything
us
was
up at
okay?
night, but it's fine. Oh my goodness.
Is that
No,
another
I mean
story?
it was too much grace. Too much grace. I don't know if I would want to tell the whole story just because of time's sake and everyone's here, but anyway, we went to the hospital. We did a midwife in the hospital. We arrived to the hospital 5:35 p.m.
PM, okay.
p.m. and she gave labor within like an hour. So then she gave birth at 7:21.
No,
Yeah.
the first
That's
one?
great.
And was
The
it very
first one.
intense?
The first one. Was it very intense? Yeah, it's probably intense. I mean, I was definitely hearing screams from Kai I never heard of before. But
Did you understand the language?
but no, it was, it was so magical because, no, I mean, on my side, obviously not on her side, but because with a midwife, she made me feel like a superhero. I saw everything. I saw everything. I didn't shy away. And
Good for you.
yeah, she made me feel like a superhero. I had all the confidence that I was just totally with her, and and I caught my baby. I caught my baby.
Yay!
Did you cut the
Caught my
cord?
baby. And I cut the cord. I caught my baby. I gave her to Kai Young. I was the one who touched the baby first. So I
That's
caught
what
my
they
little-
want. Did you do the skin touch where they have the man without the shirt and then holding the baby?
No. I gave her to Kai Young. So I
I
didn't
mean,
hold
later
her.
they do that usually.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, we did that later. Yeah. So I caught my baby. I gave her to Kai Young. And
I want to cry.
they're totally respectful.
Mm.
You know, when they asked for, you know, anything, you know, they respected our wishes completely. So
Well,
it
they're
was just
happy it only
totally
took 2
magical.
hours.
Oh yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, and yeah, it was very, very magical. But you know, me and Kai kind of looked at each other days after we looked at each other, and we're like, man, that's such a blessing from God that, you know, she's keeping us up all night. You know,
Yeah,
so,
absolutely. Healthy
so
baby.
it's like we can't really complain. You know,
No,
it was a
that's what
really, it
babies are
was,
there for. Sleep
yeah.
deprivation. Yeah, it's part of the bonding process. See if you really love them.
Yeah. Oh
And
boy. Anyway,
breastfeeding's going okay and everything.
yeah, you know, in the beginning it was difficult, and obviously it's all new to us. Where kind of said it hurts in the
They make
beginning.
it seem like it's so natural and easy. No, it's not. It really takes a lot of work to get that going.
Yeah. It's painful. The baby's like, I'm not getting enough milk. Just, but yeah, and finally, you know, as time went on, then it got easier to come, the milk
Yeah,
to come
yeah.
out,
Just takes
and
time.
now,
And she has to
yeah,
relax, you know.
and she's got to relax. Exactly. I give her a massage like every day.
Oh, good for
Uh,
you. You're
you
making
know,
points.
gotta. Yeah. So anyway, but we're in a dream right now. We're in a dream. So
That's the
no,
best. Oh my
we're in a dream.
gosh.
Well,
That's
you know, we'll be prepared for, you know, our future nightmares. Maybe, I don't know, but you know.
the delivery, each one's different. My second one, every time
Oh
the
yeah.
sun went down, my labor would start. When the sun went up, my labor stopped. It was for 3 days and 2
Whoa.
nights. So, you know, every one is different. And I never have any bad memories. I did everything by myself. You know, I said, just stay out of my way. You know, my husband was asleep in the bed. I was counting my contractions. It's okay.
Oh
You're
wow.
there. That's all I care. You're there. You know, so yeah, we all have our stories, but that's
Yeah.
amazing. The first one, usually
Super.
it's
First one.
longer.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if the second one is worse.
Get
You know,
back
is
at
bad. I wouldn't be surprised because that was way too
you.
graceful. That was too much
Yeah.
blessing. So
Well, you hope for the best,
yeah.
be prepared for the
For the
worst,
best.
and
Yeah.
everything
Exactly.
has
Yeah.
its joy, you know. So
You're right. You're right.
it's great. Just the fact you're there, that's all that matters. That's all that
Yeah. Yeah.
matters. So I'm going to let everybody go, and I'll send you the email tonight of what next week's lesson is, how we'll progress with that. And in the meanwhile, you know, explore both the teacher's manual and the journal. And to me, it's so amazing just what we covered today. How can this can really solve a lot of bullying problems and hanging out with the wrong people and things like this. So I hope you got I always get a lot out of you guys. So any questions before we leave, or
No.
no, we're good? Okay, well, have a wonderful evening. Everybody try to get some rest, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you, Linda. You're awesome, Gideon. Congratulations again.
Yeah, yay, Gideon.
Thanks so much.
Thank you, Linda.
Thank
Thank you very much. Have a great week.